Well, hello. She back. You back. Welcome back. My name is Soraya, Raya Nico, Raya. Call me whatever works for you. I go by all those names. I am a fun loving, semi adventurous, soft Capricorn who makes art. I don't want to be labeled as an artist because I just find that to be limiting, but we don't have to talk about that. I like to paint, I like to make art. And in this video, I will be finishing the painting from the last one I posted. Thankfully, I was able to make enough videos so I won't have to, wait another month before the next one. I thought in advance this time. So thank you for your patience if you were waiting. Yeah. Today we'll be finishing the details off of that painting. So that means like the second, third layer, however many layers I ended up doing. And I'll be sharing some tips and tricks I have if you're painting, reviving old brushes, and also talking about decolonizing, if it's even possible to decolonize a creative process, but really taking white supremacy out of it, talking about what laziness means, what procrastination actually means, and what happens when you trust your intuition and you actually follow the flow of creativity. And that's a challenge for me, an earth sign who likes to just be a rock that plops in the middle of wherever I fall and stay there. But there's some flow to it. And yeah, stick around and listen to me chit chat. So if you paint with acrylic, you'll notice that when it dries, it turns into plastic. So that means when it dries and you don't properly wash your brushes, which I don't blame you because, I don't know, we should take care of our brushes, but sometimes it doesn't happen. It turns into plastic. So I'm like, and you can hear it cracking. Yeah, so in order to revive brushes that are just like that, I don't know if this is a trick. I'm sure a lot of people do it, but I just take my nail because I have nails. But if you don't have a nail, you can use whatever works for you. And I start at the bottom and I just gently break it up. And it helps you soap and water because once you break it up, all that plastic acrylic is going to turn into dust and you want to get that off. So I'm just turning the brush and breaking it up so now you can see it kind of opens up a little bit smoother than before. So I just do that a lot until it's much more flexible. And sometimes it takes a minute, sometimes it takes a few minutes. For bigger brushes, it takes an hour. But this is a really good way to save your brushes so you don't have to always buy new ones. Okay, so this is a few minutes of me working this brush. Don't mind my crusty nails, I'm an artist. Yeah, so I was working this brush for a little bit. I'm dipping in some water, dry it off a little, and then continue. And the last tip to save old brushes is that once they're finally back to what you want them to be, this isn't quite there yet. Once they're finally there, you want to wet it, and then you want to shape it back to its original shape. So you always want it to dry in the shape that it's supposed to be. Because if it's frayed and you let it dry like that, then you're just gonna ruin the brush. So you wanna shape it and let it dry in the shape that it came in. And that's how you revive a used acrylic brush. Oh, yeah. Keep your brushes for the mediums. Don't mix mediums. So don't use your oil brushes for your acrylic, for your watercolor. This is an acrylic brush for me. All right, that's it. All right, so boom. If you are listening to this right now, you are a real one. You're a writer. You want to listen to me chat, and for that, I will send you love. So today we're just going to talk about a couple of housekeeping things when it comes to painting in acrylic. And to tapping into your intuition with your creative process, at least from my perspective. If I speak in terms of you and like general terms, it's because I'm basically talking to myself right now, so forgive me, I'm practicing. Before I get to chatting about painting in acrylic, I want to note that the form, the style, the techniques that I'm using right now to blending colors is something that I use when I paint with oil. So oil paint doesn't dry as fast, and you can kind of leave it on the canvas. Sometimes if you have a huge highlight, a white patch, you can just take from the white and add it to other parts of your painting for hours sometimes. So that's something I'm used to, and it wasn't really working so well for me. Acrylic paint dries so quickly, so I ended up mixing the colors in a way that sometimes looked gray, sometimes looked really inaccurate, sometimes too dark, different things. So all of that to say, mixing colors in acrylic before you put it on the canvas can be helpful, and that goes into the next and first thing I wanted to talk about. Anywho, so the first thing I want to talk about is how important it is to mix your colors accurately before you put them on the canvas when you are doing commissions and trying to get people's likeness on the canvas. A good friend of mine, Simone, who is also a fellow visual artist, I love their work so much. Please check them out on Instagram, Simone Satchel Art, New York City, NYC. So something that they've told me before is like a sense of anxiety when doing commissions and trying to get other people's likeness down. And I resonate with that so much, because if you make somebody too light or too dark, or if you get their nose wrong, or if maybe they have an insecurity about something that you're painting, you just don't want to get it wrong. So that's a sense of anxiety that I do carry with some of the commissions that I make. And with that anxiety, I want to be gentle with myself and not rush myself, not rush the creative process, not rush my learning process, because each one is a learning moment. And every time somebody trusts me to create a commission for them, it is learning for me. So I have to, invest time into figuring out these color combinations and all that jazz. And with that being said, I feel like this is a good time to talk about taking white supremacy out of the creative process. So earlier I had some hesitation with saying decolonizing the creative process, because, something my grandfather brought up to me is that if something has clearly been colonized, dominated, or not necessarily appropriated and dominated, but just comes from colonization, how can you take that out of it? Like, how do you go backwards? So I guess that's to say, like, how do we redefine and start fresh without white people's BS and the problems that they have brought to this world? Obviously, not all white people are bad, but anyways, let me get back to my point. My point is, when we use words like lazy and when we use words like procrastination, these have real meanings. These have meanings from our different cultures, from our different backgrounds, but it's the meanings and the discussion and the discussion, the communication, the conversation that comes from that, which is more important than the actual word, which is so obviously ableist, which is so obviously not taking into account people's real lives, not taking into account people's abilities. So yeah, we just really need to be specific with the words that we use. All of that to say that this entire process for me, creating this painting in particular, since I'm not used to painting this skin tone or this range of skin tones, it's been the biggest learning journey, and I'm obviously not able to quickly and efficiently, however capitalism says efficiently works, I haven't been able to efficiently mix the colors, but I think I did a decent job, and the person who is getting this is very happy and I feel like that's all that matters. So let's just take white people's racist expectations out of our creative process, and let's tap into our intuition and create from the heart, I feel like that's when my best work comes out, when I'm not being rushed. My best work in anything that I do comes when I trust myself. So it's not for the sake of rushing, for the sake of creating things faster and faster, but when I have my routine, when I have my rituals, I trust myself more and things just come more naturally. So trust yourself.